My name is Charlie Hill, and I'm president and co-founder of the Hampton Roads Prostate Health Forum. And what we do in Hampton Roads is we try to get the word out to all who will listen, men and women and their families. We want them to know and understand about prostate cancer because we don't know enough as a community, and the results of too many unnecessary and early deaths occur because we don't know enough or we don't act fast enough, and we think that there's a close connection between the two. I do want to share something with you, Mr. Oles, and all who see this piece, is that Black people live sicker and die younger than any other racial or ethnic group in the United States. And I want to say that again because I don't know if we recognize that Black people live sicker and die younger than any other ethnic or racial group in the United States. All of us know people who are not totally well, either high blood pressure or obesity, diabetes, heart trouble. We know that, and it's so common, we sort of take it for granted. But it doesn't have to be that way. And one of the things that I'm committed to is to help reduce those statistics associated with that reality that we are, in fact, the sicker or the sickest of the ethnic groups and racial groups in the United States. And we can do something about that, and we should.
Gotcha. If you would, Brother Hill, tell us how did you get involved with your journey as far as being such a great advocate for prostate cancer awareness?
Two things. My wife was not diagnosed with the cancer, her lung cancer, early enough to be successfully treated. And nobody would talk about prostate cancer because of the privacy issues, and they just didn't want to talk about it, or they were just scared. But that early detection resonated with me. So my prayer was, if I survive this, I will commit my remaining days to helping other men and their families understand this risk. At that time, I didn't know all of these statistics about Black people and and with prostate cancer and other cancers, because I didn't know very many people who had cancer. Okay, right. Even in my 50s, I didn't know very many people who had cancer. Now I used to hear people say things like, "Well, that's the C word," you know. I figured out after a while that they were talking about cancer. They would whisper the C word, but I didn't have family members, and I didn't have anyone else who knew much about cancer.
So, in your words, then, what is prostate cancer?
Prostate cancer, like any other cancer, is the uncontrolled or abnormal growth of cells. As you know, the body has billions of cells, and one of the things that God has done is He designed us so that these cells would live a period and they would die off and they would be replaced by new cells, and that has been part of God's plan. And when one of these or a group of these cells doesn't die off, it just keeps on producing, then it creates what we call now a tumor. The tumor doesn't have to be cancerous. It can be non-cancerous, or as we say, benign. But oftentimes, if it's benign and it continues to grow, in many cases, it becomes malignant or cancerous.
Gotcha. Yeah. Is there a screening process for prostate cancer?
There is a screening process, and it includes a blood test. It's called the PSA test, the prostate antigen blood draw that looks for evidence of a contributor in that blood that may suggest that there's a prostate issue. I like to be very careful, since I'm picking my words, is that people have become comfortable with this idea that there used to be a range. You know, people would say, "Well, what is your PSA number?" And the range used to be from 0 to 4. If you were in that range, the doctors would say, "Well, you're okay. Don't worry about it." And a lot of guys, in good faith, said, "Well, I don't need to worry about it. The doctor says I'm okay." What they did not say was that really applies to average risk men, and average risk men basically are white men. Mm-hmm. So what we need to understand now, and we should have understood it before, people had talked about it, if a black man has a PSA score that is more than 2.5, then that's reason for concern. Mm-hmm. It's not reason to panic, but it's reason for concern. And if you look carefully at all of the research that has come out of NIH and all of the researchers, they'll tell you that range from 0 to 4 is for average risk men. And in the final print, they'll say this does not apply to men of African descent, mm-hmm. Or black men. So that's important to understand. That's part of the deal. There are a lot of new tests that are being worked up and trying to figure out more effective ways to get an indication of what the PSA might be. But the message I want to leave with our friends at Globe and elsewhere is a high PSA number does not automatically mean you have prostate cancer, and a low PSA number doesn't mean that you don't have it.
Right.
And I'm the living example of that. I had a PSA of less than 2.5, yet I had prostate cancer. Mm. I had prostate cancer. So, and in fact, it was so much of a challenge back in 2002 when we discovered this cancer. I didn't believe that I had prostate cancer because all I knew was what I read, and it said 0 to 4. Well, how could that be? if I'm nowhere near 4.
Right.
And my doctors at the time too were of the same mind, even though we knew that there was something different about black men.
Right.
There's not evidence-based science to support that. So I'm going to put a little tack in that point because I want to get to the other part of your question. The other part of your question deals with exams.
Right.
You mentioned the test. There is an exam called digital rectal exam, digit meaning finger, and that exam calls for a doctor or anyone else who's that skilled, highly skilled, with a gloved finger pushing lightly through the rectum and touching the back of the prostate gland. And that sort of gives me a reason to say a prostate gland is located below the bladder and in front of the rectum. So that's why pushing through the rectum, the doctor or physician assistant or even now nurse practitioner, they feel around to see if they can feel any lumps or what the doctors will call abnormalities. And that is important that we understand for a couple of reasons. One, notice I said the back side of the gland. No doctor has fingers long enough, and you don't want anybody who has fingers long enough to go.
That might be a little uncomfortable.
Go around to get both sides and the front of the gland.
Right.
There's something going on there, so you don't want that to happen. But it's important that we understand that even before 1995, or the mid 1900s, I think it was about 1995. Before the PSA was actually introduced, that's all doctors had was the finger, and you can imagine what happened because when you can feel a lump in the prostate gland, that means you're in trouble, my brother. Okay, and most of the time it means you're in trouble. So when they went in and started doing these exams, and all they would find was cancer. In many cases, the cancers were so far advanced, these guys just had a shorter lifespan. There's no question. But all of the lumps are not necessarily cancerous, and that's why now we're going to bring it back and put the glove on. You got the PSA test and you got the digital rectal exam. I think, and there are a lot of doctors who practice in this area, that the best combination for any man is to do both the PSA test and the digital rectal exam. Now I go one step further, and I said you should do them on the same day, okay? And you should do them in a certain order, and that order is PSA test first, then go around the corner or across the hall and get the digital. And the reason that that's important is we know that if a man has sex within 24 hours or so before he has an exam, he could alter the numbers.
Right.
You don't want any question about the numbers. Whatever they are, they should be a clear indication of you.
I've heard people mention how painful prostate cancer can be. And I would assume that a lot of times that's because they didn't get diagnosed early enough, and the prostate cancer has spread it throughout the bones and so forth. So is that the reason, I guess, that it gets to the bone, that it is such a painful cancer?
Absolutely. I'm going to call you Dr. O's, because that is precisely the case. I have been with men as they were dying, and they were loading them up with morphine and all kinds of painkillers, and the brothers would say, you know what, just let me die, because the pain is just so great, I can't stand it anymore. I was with a couple of brothers. When I say brothers, I'm talking about Omega brothers as well as brothers. So they were in so much pain that none of the morphine, none of the drugs gave them relief. And they said, I just want to die. I want to die right now because I can't stand it. When that pain, the disease gets to the bones, that's a rough road to hoe. It is rough. So you never want to get there. So going back to your fundamental question, early detection, that's why early detection is so important. Early detection provides the opportunity to address the cancer while it's still contained in the gland. That's what you really want. That's why I believe that Black men ought to start the education process formally at age 35 and wait no later than age 40 to have a baseline PSA test. And they should be done every year for the rest of their lives. So, but that's the advantage of early detection.
Well, Brother Hill, we could go on, and I hope that we can have you back. We're planning to have something here with our men's ministry to recognize Prostate Cancer Awareness Month as well in September. Yeah. And hopefully we can continue this conversation and maybe, dive into some other areas as well. But as we wrap this up, what would be, say, 3 takeaways that you would like the audience to be aware of, or that they can kind of rest their hats on about prostate cancer?
If you would allow me, I would have 5. Okay. And they all relate to early detection. The first one is every man should see his doctor yearly and get a PSA test and a digital rectal exam. That's number 1. Every man, yearly, starting at no later than age 40. Number 2, watch for a change in your PSA number, up or down, but certainly if it's up, you want to watch for a change and understand that that you are, if you are a Black man, understand that the numbers that most doctors see typically don't always apply to you, because if you are of African ancestry, then your numbers will look different from what most doctors typically see. Number 3, have a biopsy done if it's recommended by your doctor. I mean, I wouldn't go saying I need to have a biopsy, but if the circumstances lead to that, don't delay having a biopsy, because it may save your life. So have a biopsy done. Number 4, have or find out if your father or a brother has or had prostate cancer. You asked a question earlier, what are the risk factors? And you didn't ask it that way. The great risk factors for prostate cancer: 1, age. As you get older, you become a greater risk for prostate cancer. If your father or a brother or a first-degree member has prostate cancer, then that would be important for you to know about that. And if you are African American or Black man, then that's another risk factor. So those are the 3 generally accepted risk factors that are important. And the 5th one is simply share these keys with the folk at Grove, certainly early detection. Share this information with your family, with your friends, and your associates. So if you want to put a capstone on everything, the capstone is early detection saves lives.
Awesome. Well, we thank you, Brother Hill, for your time and all of your knowledge and the information that you've shared. I'm sure that this will definitely help someone to hopefully reduce some suffering and save lives.